Crime from my point of view. So welcome to Crime POV with 54 Keys.
Welcome to Crime POV with 54 Keys and our victim, Nalani Johnson. On Saturday, August 31st, Penn Hills police out of Pennsylvania responded to a report of a child abduction at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And the description of the vehicle and the identity of the driver was provided by the biological father of the child, whose name is Paul Johnson. Okay, so when the reports first came out, they were telling us that the father, a friend of his, and the baby had gotten into like a Uber. Okay, and the driver of the Uber, who we now know is Sharina Nancy, supposedly took off with his child. Now, and I'm gonna be honest with y'all. When I first heard that story, I was like, "What?" It didn't sound right. And then not only that, the reports were saying that the father kept trying to call the Uber driver. And I was like, what? Like, somebody drives off with your child. To hell with calling them. I'm calling the police. But he tried to contact this Uber driver several times. The abduction reportedly occurred at the intersection of Bryant Road and Prescott Road in Penn Hills. And through the course of the investigation, it was determined that after the abduction, the female Uber driver drove toward the Blairsville area. Okay, she was then stopped by Penn Hills police at about 7:30. But when they stopped her, Nalani and her car seat was gone. Now, when I first heard this story, this was so unbelievable. And I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I instantly was like, her father got something to do with this. There's no way in hell that he doesn't have anything to do with this. And I still believe that. Okay, they've issued the Amber Alert for her. They got people out there looking for her. They're looking for the Uber driver. Okay, and Leilani's nowhere to be found. So when you consider the fact that a Uber driver drove away with her, it was like, okay, where the hell did she take her? And here's the story that the Uber driver gave when police finally caught up with her. The Uber driver, whose name is Sharina Nancy, told police that Mr. Paul Johnson, who's Nalani's father, instructed her to hand off Nalani to a woman along Route 22 who would flag her down. She said that he was selling his daughter for $10,000. And I'm like, so he told you that you were about to take this child and hand him off to some people because he was selling her, and you was okay with that? You was okay with that? That part didn't sound right to me. Nothing about this story sounded right. Okay? So then let me show you what started to come out after the police kept doing interviews with Miss Nancy. The story that came out was that Miss Nancy, Nalani, Paul Johnson, which is Nalani's father, and his friend had been together for hours on Saturday. So they kicking it. Okay? That's what that sound like to me. They kicking it. And at some point, Miss Nancy and the friend, whose name is Justin, got into an argument. Okay? And then at some point, uh, Paul and Justin got out the car. And when they went to try to get Nalani out the car, Miss Nancy drove off. And I'm like, okay, so wait a minute. So Justin and Miss Nancy get into an argument, and then it sounded like this broad in her feelings. She didn't got in her feelings. Okay? That's what it sounded like to me. But she drove off with Nalani in the car. And again, they didn't know where Nalani was. And then a few days later, they found Nalani. The body of Nalani Johnson was found Tuesday, September the 3rd at Pine Ridge Park in Indiana County. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, this hurt my heart. I was praying to God that they found this little girl alive. Praying to God. But I don't know what happened from the time from 5 o'clock when they reported her abduction up until 7:30 when they caught Miss Nancy. I don't know what happened in between that time. You got 2.5 hours. But again, like I said, it seemed like this bride was in her feelings. And she ain't passed Nalani off to nobody. She done did something to this little girl and left her at the park. So, yeah, couple things. First off, when Nalani's father first reported her being kidnapped, why didn't he tell the police that he was involved with the Uber driver, with Miss Nancy? Because that's what came out, that they was in some type of romantic relationship. Why he didn't say that up front? He didn't tell them that part. And then we learned that Nalani's mother had to file a protection against Nalani's father, claiming that he almost killed the little girl before. And I'm like, this Negro don't sound too stable. You understand what I'm saying? He don't sound too stable. But nevertheless, Miss Sharina Nancy has been charged, but she's only charged with concealment of the whereabouts of a child, interference with custody, and kidnapping. I got a feeling, y'all, that after they do the autopsy that's scheduled for today, September the 4th, her charges will be upgraded to murder. Rest in heaven, Nalani.